let's jump right in. Catharsis is the purging of emotions, of this energy that's built up. So when we think of energy, we often think about it as the foods we consume or the energy we have. Maybe it's the glucose in our body or the fat stored. We think of that energy. But you have to go a little bit deeper. You have to go below the cellular level, past some molecules into the atoms. And it's the atoms of this vibrating matter, and it's in all things in our universe. And they have a nucleus with electrons bouncing around it, which are negatively charged. And so there's positively nucleus and negative electrons. That is essentially a battery. And so we have to think of, when we think of energy, we have to think of that too, which is essentially this atomic vibration. And as we get stressed, which stress is the release of very powerful hormones, neurotransmitters, chemicals that flood our body, and we get a sensation, we get a feeling, which, as we've talked about, is derived from thought. So I think something or I see something scary, I get a reaction, which is preparation for me to fight or flee, and I have now a sensation. And the body can't tell the difference between perceived and real, so I can think of something scary and get the same sensations as if I was in physical danger. So we need to do something with this energy. And this energy comes from, this negative energy, this stress, comes from, like I just mentioned, from the thought. But it also comes from being triggered. So just being out in your day and things happen and they stress us. It could be there are deadlines you have to meet and you might be worried that you won't meet those deadlines. And so you have stress, or you are worried the way whatever you're presenting will get accepted, or you might be stressed about what someone thinks about you, or maybe someone cuts you off or does something that invalidates you, and it builds up in us. So this is how we accumulate stress throughout the day, and we're like sponges, and it's on this atomic level that the vibration changes and we feel off. We also inherit trauma. That's why our brains actually are designed the way they're designed, with the amygdala leading it, because the amygdala assesses for danger and operates faster than the prefrontal cortex. And so it's assessing the world as though it's dangerous. Hey, here's potential danger. It's like that because of the environment our ancestors lived in. It was a very dangerous environment, and that started to code them. It started to condition them, and with biogenic traits. And so those traits were passed down all the way to us sitting here right now. And so this is a coding, it's a trauma that we inherited. There are recent studies that show how we inherit trauma, done by with Holocaust survivors and their offspring, and showing that people who have suffered trauma, a lot of trauma, and have children will pass it on to their children. So those children have a more receptive to stress. And so this is going on generation after generation. And it's coded in our DNA. We are designed to worry. Now on top of that, there is my idiogenic traits. So these are things that are personal to me. And it's my reactions to the world. So as we are developing, as our brain's developing, it's going through different stages of development. And one of them is where, when I'm young, 3, 5 years old, I'm first time figuring out I'm independent from my mother. I'm out in the world alone, and now how do I survive in this world? Which the amygdala is telling me it's potentially dangerous. Even toddlers, you can show the pictures of people that are different, and their brain automatically lights up as though it's potential danger. That's a coding. It's coded within all of us, all our DNA, we're coded for this stress. And so I'm reacting to the world. I'm a toddler and I'm looking at the world going, okay, that's potential danger, that's potential danger. And how am I going to survive in this dangerous environment? So I'm reacting to it, and I'm developing behaviors that now are going to keep me safe. And then what happens, I just repeat those behaviors for the rest of my life, which becomes my personality. This is who I am now. And then at different stages of brain development, different behaviors, I develop different behaviors. It could be in my teen years, I wanted to fit in, so I started acting a certain way. I acted like the cool surfer guy. Or I was the class clown, or I hid in my books and I became very intelligent and I knew all the answers. Whatever it was to keep me safe. Now, this is also trauma. It was a traumatic experience that caused me to code that behavior. So this lives within us, and I can't separate from it. I can't change without clearing that trauma. When we get stressed, when we have this trauma, it develops who we are, becomes who we are, but also this daily trauma that I'm absorbing causes a sensation of stress in me. It throws me off balance. My vibration is off, and I'm getting these chemicals flowing through my body that are stress chemicals, cortisol, adrenaline, all those very powerful chemicals. And what it does, it stops me from being able to function at my highest ability. There's an interesting phenomenon. So, as I said, the amygdala is the fastest part of our brain. So it's reacting to stress. So, as I mentioned the other day, if you're on a walk and you jump back because you don't know if you've just seen a stick or a snake, that's the amygdala took control of your body and got you out of the way of danger. Then the prefrontal cortex starts to reason, okay, what's everything I know about sticks compared to everything I know about snakes, and I can decide if that's a stick or a snake, which happens very quickly, but it happens slower than the amygdala, and we might be too slow for us. So whenever we're in a stress state, the prefrontal cortex shuts down, which is very interesting because willpower is housed in the prefrontal cortex. So what's a cycle, this vicious cycle that often we stay in, is that I feel stress because I've had a thought or I've seen something stressful, which causes these chemicals to flow into my body, and now I have the experience of being stressed. So I want to mitigate that. I want to escape from that. So I go to some form of gratification, which could be food. So now I'm eating this food and it's making me feel better and I'm stopping this stressful feeling. It didn't go away, but I'm not experiencing because I'm feeling pleasure. Now, if I don't want to eat so much, but I'm still stressed, I now don't have the willpower to stop myself because it's shut down because I'm in a stress state. And so this is why this vicious cycle happens and we get stuck. So it's really important that we start to catharsis, start to get this energy out so we can function better. And it just leaves us in a state of calm and peace. There's an interesting phenomenon with primates, with all primates. When we get stressed, our reaction to it is a biogenic reaction, which means all primates have it, all humans have it. This biogenic reaction is that when we get stressed, someone stresses us, we then go and stress someone else. It's a biogenic coding. In primates, if a dominant ape comes in and pushes, hits, or does something aggressive to another ape, that ape that was just aggressed then goes and will bite or hurt a weaker ape, a child or an elderly ape. And so it now feels better because it expressed that. That's a form of catharsis. It's not a good form of catharsis. I don't know if you've noticed when you fly internationally on long-haul flights, they often don't board economy class through first class. Because when they do, there's a 40% higher rate of aggression towards flight attendant or elderly. Because people walk through first class and go, oh, I'm feeling oppressed, like I'm treated badly. I'm not treated as well, I'm not as important. And now I have this energy and I want to get it out. It's not conscious, this is all subconscious. It's a biogenic coding. So this is a subconscious behavior that all humans have. And now I go and aggress someone else. I react. I lash out on somebody. And so this is all our coding. And because it's a subconscious behavior, because we don't have control of this behavior cognitively, we have to get rid of all this stress, all this feeling that's built up, this emotion that's built up inside of us, and purge it out. You know, It's why we're attracted to these romantic movies, these sad movies. It's because it's purging. Aristotle said the purpose of theatre is to purge emotion. And so that's what we're doing. We're connecting with emotion in another human, and we're actually getting it out of us. But there are ways that we can do this ourselves. We can purge this emotion every day, so then it doesn't accumulate, doesn't build up. And we also, as we go deeper and deeper, can start purging the trauma that we experienced in our childhood. It could have been something very traumatic. There could have been you could have been abused as a child. It could be that, or sorry, hold on, my iPad's on. I've got to turn it off. Oh, there we go. We're good. I'm back. So it could be something very traumatic that happened to us, or it could be something that we experienced that we interpreted as traumatic. It doesn't matter. It could be, as simple as my brother got the toy for his birthday that I wanted. And in that moment, I decided that I wasn't important to the family. And now I'm on my own. And now I go around as someone who's independent and I'm never going to attach. I don't need anybody. It could be something like that. But this is in us. It's who we are. It's who we're acting out as. It's our identity. And so we need to clear that. So we can clear daily trauma, which is very important, or we go deeper and we can clear this trauma that accumulates to make us produce our identity, who we are. So there are many ways to do it. And as I'm going quickly because I actually want to do a catharsis. So as you get questions, on Instagram there's a little button at the bottom that has the question mark in it that looks like two cards. On Facebook, you can just write in the questions there. But we're getting to the catharsis. So, hey Vicky, thanks for joining. Sarah, hello. So, this catharsis, what it does, as I said, it purges this emotion that's built up in us. That we have got so used to living in this stressful state that we often don't know that we have stress. In fact, our civilization, the whole civilization that we are so used to living in, is a reaction to these emotions. It's trying to mitigate discomfort, this feeling of discomfort, which that feeling of discomfort we have because it's trying to keep us safe, because the environment that we developed in was of scarcity and danger. And so now we have this civilization that is supposed to make us feel better, but it actually doesn't. It causes more stress because we go to perceived stress now. One of the things, if you think about, our civilization started when we started farming, really, about 10,000 years ago, when we came out of the environment we lived in, which was really a garden. Everything just grew, the fruit grew, the vegetables grew, everything we have now grew wild, and we'd gather it and eat it. And then we started farming, which means then we had to live around the farms, and then we started to get cattle, and we domesticated it, and we lived near it, which is the spread of causes the spread of a lot of diseases. What we're going through now is animal transmission. So this all happened with civilization, which is there to try and mitigate our emotional state. So we're basically developing society to counter an emotional state. So imagine if we were able to get a handle on this emotional state, on this biogenic trait, on this coding, which some people call the lizard brain, the more primitive, not primitive as in bad, just older part of the brain that's reacting in a subconscious level to the environment. That part of the brain we need to get control of. That's why a lot of our societies have codes of conduct. Religions have codes of conduct. So we don't just act on this impulse that we have. But if we can cathart this energy, if we can get rid of it, we can be much calmer. So the experience is better. Now we don't have to go to those behaviors that are trying to gratify us to give us a more positive feeling. We don't have to go to those behaviors anymore because we're actually in a calm state. And in that calm state, we can then be whoever we want to be. We can then change any aspect of our identity that we want to change. You don't have to change it all if you have a fantastic identity. You might be an amazing person, which I'm sure you all are.